Okay, good. Hello everybody. So welcome to part 2. Thank you for tuning in to part 1. If you did not, then feel free to click the link. We'll try on this corner this time, up there, and it'll take you to part 1 of the series. So now that you've watched that and you've mastered the swing, the clean, and the snatch, all we're talking about today is another 3 movements, is how we take the kettlebell from shoulder to overhead. So we have the strict press, we have the push press, and then we have the push jerk. The first one and the least complex, but arguably the toughest to do with more weight, is the strict press. What we're going to do is, once we have cleaned the kettlebell, we are just going to, without bending our hips, without bending our knees, push the kettlebell straight to overhead. Now, big things you want to keep in mind for all 3 of these movements are that we want to avoid the high 5 position. So that is when our elbow is out at a 90 degree. Essentially when we're doing that, we're putting undue stress on our shoulder, particularly our supraspinatus, and repeated movements like that can lead to shoulder impingement injury. This is often the case with people in the gym as well that go too heavy too soon and don't know how to properly do a shoulder press. One of the big reasons why we want to avoid the high 5 position and keep your elbow tucked in is that your humerus is at a more favorable angle. So when you're pushing up from when your elbows are essentially on your rib cage in front of you, the first kind of 45 degrees are your serratus anterior. After that, from 45 to 90, so kind of like when your arms are straight out, that is your deltoid. And then when you go from 90 to directly overhead, that is your supraspinatus. And just remember, we also want to keep our arm nice and tight to our body when we're doing that. So ideally, you should be able to get your bicep right beside your ear. So that was the strict press. Next, we're moving on to the push press. It is a single bend in the knee, and then you extend to overhead. What I want you to think about in this one is a small bend in your knee. It is not a squat or a deep squat per se. What we talk about a lot is getting your kind of power stance. So if I were to ask you to do a standing vertical jump, how deep would you squat? And that's how low I want you to squat on a push press. Then at the same time, what I want you to do is, by the time your knees are extended, you're generating that momentum from the ground up. I don't want your arms to extend at the same time that your knees are fully extended as well, or your legs are fully extended. So it should look like a fluid movement from shoulder to overhead, and you're using the power generated from your legs to get a heavier kettlebell overhead. Hey everybody, so now we're going to talk about our third progression in our kettlebells from shoulder to overhead. If you've made it this far in the video and you think someone will benefit from hearing what I have to say, then please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. But here we are, we're going to talk about the push jerk now. What separates this from the other 2 movements is that it is the most complicated movement because it requires a double knee bend, but also you can lift a lot more weight with it once you get the mechanics of this down. So quite simply, as I just said, it is a double knee bend. So you're gonna do a push press, but before you lock out your arm, you're gonna actually try and push your body back under the kettlebell and re-bend your knees and catch the kettlebell with your arm extended in a knee bent position. So you're gonna get back into that athletic stance we talked about before. And then once you've caught the kettlebell in that knee bent position, you are simply going to stand up with the weight, and that completes your kettlebell push jerk. Okay, so thanks again for tuning in, everybody. If you learned something or you feel like someone else that you know would benefit from this, don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Next time in this little series, where I'm gonna talk about the different types of kind of HIIT, that high intensity interval exercise programming that you can do with the kettlebells. We're also going to talk about different planes of motion. The one thing I do love about the kettlebell is that you can kind of get a whole body workout better than just about any other piece of equipment. Yeah.